What's up, everybody? DJ Bucky here. Move the sticks, Buck. How are you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you doing? How are you coming after that late night? You had to work, then drive back to the house?
Yeah, a little bit of a long night there, but fun, man. Fun. I'll tell you. We can just skip the happy chat and jump right into it here. It's time for the lead block presented by T-Mobile for Business. Football needs a network willing to go the extra yards. So do you. Go further with T-Mobile for Business. It was fun atmosphere for those that have, kind of followed the Chargers over the years since they moved to Los Angeles. When they moved initially into the StubHub, which was then Dignity Health, how they changed the names, was a soccer stadium, 20,000 seats. That would be 80% opposing fans in those in those venues, just because they're new to LA. You also have the combination of there's a high price ticket. It was the highest price ticket in the league at that time because it's supply demand. There wasn't many tickets. So if you're a passionate Eagles fan and the Eagles come to town, you're going to pay the extra money, and so on and so forth. But the last 2 weeks, the Bengals, who actually have a good following, and the Ravens, who have a very large following, the SoFi Stadium was 80% Charger fans during those two games, and it's kind of like you could see. And I think, look, Harbaugh deserves a lot of credit for that. He's brought a lot of excitement to the team and to that fan base. But it was a legitimate home game. There was a lot of energy in there. Had kind of a playoff vibe to it. Close game at halftime. And then you get into the second half. The Ravens, they just wore on them, man. They just wore them out. It's like a prize fighter.
Yeah, no, it was a really fun game to watch in terms of two teams that want to impose their will as fighters that love to attack you with body blows. And so the opening part of the game, you see the Chargers kind of having their way. And not necessarily that the running game was dominant, but they were using the running game to set everything up. Justin Herbert was on a heater very early in the game, and you kind of saw them doing the thing. And then defensively, they're doing a really good job early of containing Derrick Henry. But then as that diesel engine kind of got cranked up with Derrick Henry running, what you could see was the vision for what the Ravens offense was going to be in the postseason. Part of the reason and the appeal of getting Derrick Henry is to make sure he could stabilize things when the offense wasn't going. Early on, the offense wasn't clicking. They couldn't get the passing game going. They started handing the ball to number 22, and number 22 found some room. And then that was enough to kind of set the table for what they were able to get done in the second half.
Yeah, no, it really was. I mean, the Chargers had some self-inflicted wounds with drop passes, some costly penalties, negated some things, but take nothing away from the Baltimore Ravens. They are a very physical bunch. They know exactly who they are. Lamar's ability to extend and still throw the ball. I mean, they contained him as a runner. Didn't really have much of an impact as a runner. But Derrick Henry goes out there, does his thing. And, I love the compliment in terms of the roster build of the banger, the physical back, and then just the explosive little stick of dynamite you can throw out there with Justice Hill. And he popped one.
It's almost like having a knuckleball pitch for a few innings, and then you come back with the guy that's throwing the 100-mile-an-hour heater. And you're like, whoa, I got to fix my eyes. I got to adjust or whatever. And, the funny thing about the Ravens rushing attack, so much of it is about Derrick Henry. Then you get a little Justice Hill. You get some Lamar Jackson. And you look up, you're like, man, they have well over 200 rushing yards. In a league where we talk about that being a dominant performance, it felt like they were having their way, but it didn't feel like it was a dominant, we're running over you, imposing our will. And that is the beauty of the complementary pieces that they have in the running game.
Yeah, no, it was impressive. Like that, I came away from that game saying, okay, I think the Chargers are still ahead of schedule. They find themselves, right in the ball game, down by one. I believe it was 14-13 at half. It was a one-score game all the way till late in the fourth quarter. They go up 14. The Chargers end up getting a late one, so it ends a one-score game. But it was pretty competitive, back and forth, close ball game, one-possession game. And I looked at it. If I left that stadium and I'm Joe Ortiz, the general manager of the Chargers, I'm like, I got my to-do list. And it's kind of what we've been saying. Using that analogy is make the Detroit Lions your North Star. And what do they have that we don't? And it's like, okay, well, we've got the quarterback, we've got the tackles, we've got some edge rushers. We're okay there. We've got Derwin James, gives us a physical guy. I think you've got your Amon-Ra St. Brown, Alad McConkey, who's going to catch over 100 balls every year. Once he gets rolling in his career, he's going to be a volume player. But now we need to find our Jameson Williams. We need to find our Sam Laporta, and we need to find our Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, those are kind of on the to-do list.
Yeah, I would say that's the difference would be the speed factor, right? Like I
Mhm.
think they have a very good team, almost like a traditional Big Ten team, right? They're big, they're physical. Not that they're plotting, but they don't have that extra juice that you see some of the
Yeah.
teams have. They need those guys that can take it the distance because the difference in their game literally was Justice Hill catching a swing pass, taking the
Yeah.
distance. Zay Flowers catching one at the end of half, and on a dime, he hits a gear that allows him to go all the way to the thing. And then you look up, they throw one over the top for a touchdown at the end of the half that ended up being really critical. The speed factor in the marquee positions, to me, that was the difference. I think they're toe to toe and even when it comes to playing in the trenches, the home run ability. And in a league where points are derived from your ability to produce explosive plays, they need more guys that can deliver those explosive plays to help them score more points.
Yeah, no, I think that's clear. We get to the Ravens side of it. Look, there are some holes in the secondary. Chargers capitalized on some of it, but then drop passes did them in.
Mm.
But you start forecasting into the playoffs, and I know they've seen these teams, but you get into the postseason. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for them when you look at some of the quarterbacks you're going to have to navigate around. They're going to have to win some high scoring games. It seems weird to say that with the Ravens, historical defensive team. But look, no Roquan Smith in there, but Malik Harrison played great. He had 13 tackles, I want to say, in that game. He played really well. So, but they're going to find themselves in some shootouts in the postseason. Is my prediction.
Yeah, can they hold up? You have Nate Wiggins that comes over. Marlon Humphrey still can make a play on occasion. Kyle Hamilton is having to do a lot because they've had injuries in the back end, so he's not in the box doing what he normally would do. They really have a good secondary. I think Zach Orr is beginning to find some concepts that work with the personnel that he has. The problem that you have is when you look at how this team has to play to beat the rest of the teams in the AFC. You got to deal with Pat Mahomes, regardless of what the weapons are on the outside. You got to have enough speed to deal with him. You got to have an answer for Josh Allen and those things. Now, look, they beat the Bills up early, but this might be a new version of the Bills that they have to face.
It's different.
And, it could be just
and they're going to be, unless they catch the Steelers, they're going to be on the road.
And so can you get it done in that regard? But I will say the running game, the offense, being able to control it on offense to protect the defense, that could be their saving grace. And as we're looking at more of the teams that we're beginning to project in terms of being in the Final Four, like the Lions and the Eagles, the Ravens can be in your ability to shift gears on offense is really critical because if they take away one thing, do you have a counterpunch to what the defensive tactic is?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. You got to be multifaceted. That's for sure. That's a wrap for the lead block presented by T-Mobile for Business. Football needs a network willing to go the extra yard. So do you. Go further with T-Mobile for Business. I want to forecast ahead a little bit here, Buck. If we look at the playoff seedings right now, tell me if you wouldn't take the road team in these wild card matchups. You ready?
Okay.
So it would be right now the 2 seed. Well, this would be the interesting one. So the 2 seed, it would be the 2-7. So that would be Denver. Denver would go on the road to play Buffalo. That's going to be tough for Denver.
Mm-hmm.
But then you'd have the Chargers would go back to Pittsburgh for a rematch there, and the Ravens would go to Houston. Those are 3 dangerous wild card teams, man.
They are. And let's just say this because I want people to understand, like, the Buffalo Bills would be favored, but it wouldn't be an easy win for the Buffalo Bills if they had to face the Broncos. Broncos defense, top 5 defense. They bring pressure from every angle, and they are one of the teams that can lock up. And if they need to, they can lock up, play man-to-man, and challenge Josh Allen to make tight window throws to wide receivers who we need to see if they can elevate their games in the postseason. That'd be tough. You talk about the Texans and the Ravens. Even though the Texans aren't playing well, the Ravens are a talented team. We've seen what they've been able to do against the Texans traditionally.
I think the Ravens would be heavy favorite in that game on the road.
So we've seen that. And then the Steelers and the Chargers. Look, the Steelers are going to play Wisconsin basketball. It's going to be a half-court game no matter what. Do they have enough firepower? If the Chargers get up, can they work their way back into the game? That's the thing that you worry about when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Every game is a tight game, and it doesn't matter who you're playing.
Let's flip it over to the NFC. When you look at the NFC standings, the matchups would be we would have the 2 seed would be the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Philadelphia Eagles would host the Commanders in a division game. You would have the 6 seed Green Bay Packers. They would go play at Seattle. It feels like those teams have a long history of seeing each other. And then you'd have the Minnesota Vikings as the 5 go play the Atlanta Falcons in the 4 in the Kirk Cousins Bowl.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins Bowl would be intriguing. To me, that's the one that might be a little lopsided just because the defense of the Vikings, just how they can come after it, and the intel. Kevin O'Connell really knowing the quarterback, that would be a tough one, I would say, for the Atlanta Falcons. When you think about the Commanders and the Eagles, that is the one that would be a toss-up, regardless of the Eagles and how well they fared. Division game, very comfortable in terms of knowing your rivals. Dan Quinn, knowing Kellen Moore from their time together on the Cowboys staff. That's not the ideal opening round game that you want if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, even though you wouldn't fear the Commanders if they had to come in your building.
Yeah, no, it's some intriguing matchups there. I would say, man, the Washington offensive line, as we've seen, kind of come back to earth a little bit, but then Philadelphia loses Brandon Graham. They've lost Huff, so they've lost a couple pieces of their front. So that would be interesting. I know the Eagles look promising right now, but as we look at the playoff picture, we also, and we'll have time to get to it next week, but man, how about next week's matchup between the Ravens and the Eagles? You talk about a heavyweight fight.
It's a heavyweight fight. And if you're the Baltimore Ravens, you're coming off an emotional game against the Chargers. The Eagles are waiting for this. This is one for Sirianni and this Eagles group. I think it can legitimize them as a title contender. We can talk about how talented they are on offense and all the weapons and firepower, how they can shift the way that they play and lean heavily into Saquon Barkley while also getting the ball into the playmakers. Very tough matchup for the Baltimore Ravens. But Baltimore Ravens, man, they want to play physical football. And we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles wearing opponents out. They can kind of bludgeon you a little bit. Man, it's one thing to beat a bully. It's another thing they have to take down the bully, and make no question about it. Baltimore Ravens are the bully.
Yeah, no, that's going to be fun, man. That'll be a fun matchup. Let's take a quick break. We come back. We get a rookie draft. No Rhett. Nabil's going to fill in for him. We'll pick up where we left off with the rookies. Rhett's still in the lead, but we're going to hunt him down. We'll get to that right after this. All right, Buck. We've got the rookie draft here. We made a little ground up on Rhett. He's still leading by 8 points. So, look, he's playing. Look, sometimes you play a little bit above your level. You know, I feel like that's what Rhett has done this year. You know, I think he's coming. He's going to come back. He's going to come back to earth.
He's punching above his weight right now. He and Kirk Cignetti have it going right now, and we're hoping that we can kind of find a way to reel him back in, like Ohio State reeled in Indiana. We need to make sure that we get Rhett, bring him back to the pack a little bit.
Yep, we're going to do that. We're going to hunt him down right now. All right, we are going to start off. I've got the first pick. You've got the second pick. Then Rhett goes back to back on the turn here. So first pick, man, I don't know that I'm going to change anything with what's been working. So I'm going to stick with Jaden Daniels here with the first pick.
Oh, look at you, Jaden Daniels. Now, here's what makes it tough. Bo Nix has played so well that I feel compelled. I need to take him just so I can get the quarterback that I want. So I'm going to take Bo Nix right here.
Okay. That gives Rhett a little doubled up here.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, Rhett's going to go Brock Bowers, according to Nabil. That would have been my pick. I always feel like I missed out on Bowers. All right, who's he got next, Nabil? He's going Bowers. Oh, he got Bucky Irving first. I didn't see that. So he went Bucky Irving and then Bowers. All right. So there you go. Your namesake is off the board, Buck. You're up next.
Wow, that's telling. DJ, there's a thing where sometimes, like, normally the squeaky wheel will get a little bit of the grease. So I'm gonna try and go with Malik Neighbors. He was a little upset after the game. Felt like he didn't get enough touches. So let's go with Malik Neighbors getting more touches this week.
All right, I'm gonna go with Ladd McConkey with my first pick. Who, by the way, is it going to surprise you at all if you look up and 10 years into his career, we're talking about somebody who's, averaging 106 catches a year. It's just the way that he plays. Would not surprise me at all. He's just going to be such a high volume guy. So I'll go with that for my first one. My second pick can go in a couple different directions. I want a Dunze who got me some points last week. I don't know if I want to go back to that route again. Let me see. Who else would I go? Marvin Harrison's just kind of lingering out there. There's a good game in there somewhere. You know what? Yeah, give me Marvin Harrison. I'll go Marvin Harrison.
Okay, so the back-to-back for you was who? Marvin Harrison Jr.
Ladd McConkey and Marvin Harrison.
Look at that. I feel like that's insider trading, but that's cool. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna have my own little insider trading. Maybe Brian Thomas Jr. reemerges, particularly if number 16 can play for the Jags this week.
Okay, and then that leaves Rhett with the final pick, and he's going to go with Caleb Williams. All right, well, let's see if we can run him down here, man. So, Buck, you ended up with Bo Nix, Neighbors, and BTJ. I ended up with Jaden Daniels, Ladd McConkey, and Marvin Harrison. And Rhett, who's leading the show here, he gets Bucky Irving, Brock Bowers, and Caleb Williams. So we'll see. Maybe this is the key. Maybe we just need him not to show up for the draft. And,
then he's going to complain about it, though. He's going to complain about it if it doesn't go his way.
All right. This is kind of an abbreviated episode as we work our way towards Thanksgiving. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here? We'll have one more show coming up Wednesday, by the way. Anything else you want to add, Buck?
No, I mean, look, we just got to get to it. We got to hopefully can close the gap on Rhett. Rhett is having a very unorthodox, unusual, uncommon fall. We need to make sure we end it. Can't let him win.
Yeah, we're doing it. We're going to reel him in. We're going to close this thing down and just let that ego come down a little bit. Just getting a little carried away confidence-wise. You got to reel that in. All right, there you go. There's a quick one today. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Move the Sticks.